Welcome back to the greatest show on earth. It's the Take Your Shot podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Gitman, and we're just rolling through things here on this fantastic and potentially final day of the NBA season Friday as the Boston Celtics look to close out the Dallas Mavericks in game 4 and complete the sweep to get banner number 18 back to Boston, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown win that first ring. That could all potentially happen tonight in Dallas, ABC primetime, 8:30 p.m. But before we talk about game 3, preview game 4, I want to get into some sad news that happened Wednesday. I didn't have a show Wednesday, so I could not address it, but NBA legend, Hall of Famer, multiple time Hall of Famer, and the logo of the league itself, Jerry West, has fatally passed away at 86 while he was sleeping. This is a very tragic and very sad death to the NBA community and the NBA family. Jerry West was someone who essentially you could call a founding father of basketball. Yes, you may say it's Bill Russell. You could say it's James Naismith. But Jerry West was somebody that everybody wanted to watch. Jerry West did something that no other player has ever done in NBA history, and no player will ever do this again. He won Finals MVP on the losing team. Yes, LeBron was close to it in 2015, but he had a incredible performance, and that series didn't go to 7 games. Jerry West, in a losing effort, let his heart out. Over 30 points per game. In a game 7 that went down to the wire, he won Finals MVP, and he was on the losing team. Jerry West only won one championship, but his mark on the league, from being the head coach of the Lakers, from giving Pat Riley the opportunity to be a head coach with the Lakers as well, from being the general manager from 82 to 2000, getting Kobe and Shaq to LA, being the GM of the Memphis Grizzlies, saving a team that never got to 50 wins. Jerry West gave the Memphis Grizzlies essentially relevancy in basketball. Then with the Golden State Warriors, Jerry West brought the Warrior super team as an executive, and he before he tragically passed, he was the Clippers executive, and he got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to come to Los Angeles. Jerry West has done a lot for basketball ever since basketball essentially was a thing in the United States. Ever since the 60s, Jerry West has been involved in the NBA somehow. And this is just a very tragic loss and something very sad that we very much mourn. And Jerry was a great person, somebody that just did everything right. And this is very sad and very tragic once again. And we mourn his loss in the NBA. Now let's move on to game 3, excuse me, of the NBA Finals as the Boston Celtics, without Kristaps Porzingis, find a way to win and go up 3-0 and be on the verge of winning their first NBA championship since 2008. The Celtics, as I mentioned, no Porzingis. This was a game where the Mavericks had to win. Everybody thought if this was going to be a series, the Mavericks were going to win. A lot of people thought the Mavericks were going to win. The Mavericks were favorites in this game. Even I was pretty convinced that Dallas was going to win this game for how good Dallas has played throughout this postseason run, for how good Dallas has been at the end of the season. I thought the Mavericks were going to win this game, and yet Boston showed resiliency. They showed fight. They showed toughness without someone who's really made a huge impact in the first 2 games of the NBA Finals, and they found a way to win. Yes, Porzingis, they're used to playing without him because, of course, he was out. He injured himself game 4 against the Heat in the first round, didn't play until the start of the finals, but then he re-injured himself. But when you're in a position on the road, up 2-0, the other team is desperate to win this game, and you don't have Porzingis, and Dallas, and what we thought Dallas's trouble was is Porzingis was making such an impact on both sides of the rim that Dallas couldn't really find any way to beat this team. This opened up the door for the Dallas Mavericks a little bit because now it's sort of evened out the field without Porzingis, and yet the Boston Celtics found a way to win another game in this series. And Al Horford got the start, of course, without Kristaps Porzingis. Al Horford was great, not necessarily in the second half, but in the first half, especially when Dallas got up by 13. Al Horford started hitting some shots. Al Horford pretty much settled the game down for Boston early because it could have been pretty bad early. Even though Al Horford was a -2, that's not how he played. Al Horford was hustling out there. He was giving it his all as a 38-year-old who probably doesn't have a lot left in the league. And I wouldn't be surprised if Boston did end up winning today, that Al Horford would announce his retirement and call it quits, because, of course, it's great to go off an NBA title. But Al Horford gave it his all, 37 minutes as a 38-year-old. That's impressive. 37 minutes. As I'm at 8 points, he had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, he had 2 steals. It felt like his presence was felt, especially at the end of the game. He had huge rebounds when Dallas was trying to cut it to a one-possession game. I think Boston was up 4. Dallas shot a 3. They missed. I think that happened twice. But Al Horford, for what he did without Porzingis, was great as well. And the backup center, too. Boston decided to go with Xavier Tillman, which was a little bit of a surprise considering Luke Kornet got most of those minutes when Kristaps Porzingis was out of the game. And we were all assuming, including myself, that Joe Mazzulla was going to go to Luke Kornet. But he decided to give the nod to Xavier Tillman today. And Xavier Tillman, he wasn't that great in the first quarter. Xavier Tillman really wasn't playing great defense. And the Mavs were going at him. Joe Mazzulla got pretty frustrated at him. He was playing defense. I know there was one play that he decided to not even contest a jump shot. Joe Mazzulla got pissed. Xavier Tillman did not have a good first quarter, but in the second and third, fourth, pretty much the whole game past the first quarter, Xavier Tillman was huge. Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, they didn't have great games. They did not. And part of the reason why is, yes, they haven't been great overall in the NBA Finals, but the defense of both, going back to Al Horford and Xavier Tillman, were absolutely elite against those big men. And that was something that Dallas was probably emphasizing, to get the ball to the big man, take advantage of those matchups. Xavier Tillman hasn't played all finals. Al Horford's 38. We've got to take advantage of that. And those two stood their ground and did exactly what Joe Mazzulla wanted them to do. Not necessarily fill the role of Kristaps Porzingis, but be two guys who can really show their presence, show their impact, and help the Boston Celtics in any way that means necessary to win the basketball game. And that's exactly what they did. So you got to give credit to those two big men for stepping up without Kristaps Porzingis being on the court. And before I get into Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, I want to talk about overall the Boston Celtics defense, including some of the bench guys, Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard didn't have a great offensive game. Sam Hauser had a couple of threes in there, timely threes. He was pretty good, but that was because of something else. Luka Dončić obviously not hustling on defense, but we'll get into that in the Mavericks segment. But Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, two guys that the Boston Celtics were not really sure could play. When we questioned the Boston Celtics this season as a contender, we knew their first 6. We knew how great those 6 were. But what else? Who else is going to be for Boston? When I questioned them, where's their depth? They gave up everything. They gave up Robert Williams III. They gave up Malcolm Brogdon. They let Grant Williams walk. Where is their depth now? And Peyton Pritchard, someone who really hasn't gotten his chance, and we felt should have gotten his chance a little bit earlier with Boston. And Sam Hauser, someone who second year really played a little bit last year, but not that much. Now getting his opportunity to shine as a second-year player. Those two were incredible all year long, mostly on offense. But in this game 3, their defense, especially when some of the main guards were out, and Derek White and Holiday, on Dončić and Kyrie Irving, those two were great. I know Peyton Pritchard had 2 amazing plays where he knocked the ball off Kyrie's knee, and then he stole the ball from Kyrie. 2 plays in a row, if I'm not mistaken, back-to-back defensive plays. Sam Hauser was forcing Dončić into contested shots, got a little frustrated there. Those two on the defensive end, something that we haven't seen from Pritchard and Hauser all season long, to be quite honest. That was one of the most surprising, if not the surprise of the game to me. because those two are not in there to play defense. Those two are in there to get 3-pointers, help the scoring a little bit. Those two, when any other team sees them on the court, they go at him. And that's what Dallas did. Dallas tested Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser throughout the entire game. Yet they stood their ground and they played great defense and they stepped up. And that's all you can ask for. When a guy like Porzingis is out, going back to Horford and Tillman as well, all you can ask for is your bench guys to step up, your role players to step up. And that is exactly what the Boston Celtics role players did. And that is what makes the Celtics team so great. Now let's get to the star players a little bit. Drew Holiday, a little bit off game offensively. You didn't have Porzingis as well. Holiday really making up for Tatum's production earlier in the series, games 1 and game 2, when Tatum wasn't shooting that well. Derek White had his Derek White game, 16 points, what we want him to do if you're Boston. But now that Holiday didn't have his great offensive game, what is Jason Tatum going to do? We question Jason Tatum. He has struggled in the finals for the past couple of years. He struggled in 2022. Now he's struggling here in games 1 and game 2, really shooting the ball horrifically, even though he really impacted the game other ways by passing. Still did that in this game, rebounding, and just playing great defense overall. And we were wondering, even though it wasn't really necessary because of the Celtics' position in this NBA Finals, when's Jason Tatum going to show up? When is Jason Tatum going to be that offensive threat? When is Jason Tatum going to be that player that we've seen score 50 points before in a Game 7 situation? We've seen take our teams to this point entirely. Where is that Jason Tatum? And did he show up in game number 3? Jason mother effing Tatum was incredible. Tatum scored 31 points. He was a -4, but he really got it going early from the 3-point line, which is something that was great because Tatum was shooting, for how bad he shot from the field, he was shooting even worse from the 3-point line, really not getting anything from there. Got his 3-point shot going, which gave him the confidence and really collapsed the defense up on him as well, and got inside to the rim and got some buckets going. He made some crucial buckets. He got to the free throw line. He made his free throw, something he hasn't really done all postseason long. This was the Jason Tatum that we expected, that we saw all season long. This is the best player for the Boston Celtics all year long. And we were waiting. And we put the pressure on Jason Tatum a little bit. Even if the Celtics won, I think pressure would have been on Jason Tatum a lot. But I think this game really lowers the pressure a lot for him personally, because when you're in the finals, you are expected to perform. Your best players go from great to superstardom. Your stars go to superstars in the NBA Finals, and Tatum really stepped up, especially with all the noise going on about, can Tatum be the best player? Is Tatum the best player on this team? Jaylen Brown really was showing some signs of potentially being the best player for Boston. And yes, this is a team game. We all love being on the same team. We all love winning the title. But at the end of the day, people care about themselves. Jason Tatum's due for a 5-year, $320 million extension. Jason Tatum knows he needs to play great. Jason Tatum knows for his stardom, his market, his brand, just for himself, he needs to be great. And yes, it's a team game, and I get it. Jason Tatum really should be thankful and should be happy that he is on a great team. And they've done great together as a team. They've had great team chemistry all year long, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with Jason Tatum and the other guys on the team. Nothing is wrong at all. I'm just saying, as an individual who wants to build their basketball legacy, they know they have to play great. Because if Jason Tatum was playing the way he played in game 1 and game 2 and Boston won the finals, we're like, oh, Jason Tatum got carried to an NBA title. That's what the narrative would have been if Jason Tatum continued to not play good. But the fact that Jason Tatum played it at least good in this game, it really silences that narrative a little bit. Now, that could, of course, change if Boston messes around and gives Dallas a couple of games here. But for now, Tatum shut that narrative, and they are on their way to win an NBA title. And then again with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown has been might as well say it, the best player for Boston in the finals. I said Jason Tatum, maybe, but Jaylen Brown has continued consistently to perform in the finals. I'm only saying this series. Jaylen Brown is by far been the best player in the series, and we'll get to the question about that next. Actually, not next, but in probably like 20, 30 minutes. Jaylen Brown, after struggling in the first half, not really his game. It was Tatum's game. It looked to be Jason Tatum's game. Really, not. It's okay. It's not his game, but yet the Mavericks made a push. It looked like Boston was going to win easily. Jaylen Brown, I didn't need to really do anything. The Mavericks made a push. And what did Jaylen Brown do? He responded. He silenced the crowd. He hit some clutch jump shots. He got it going again. He didn't have a great game from the three-point line. He got into the basket. He drew some fouls. Jaylen Brown has continued to be great for Boston. And if you look at the dynamic of this game, a great player is out for Boston. You need your superstars to step up. You are in a tight spot. You just blew a 21-point lead. You need your superstars to step up. And that is exactly what happened. Boston's two superstars, guys who have struggled in the postseason in the past, in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, delivered in the finals in a spot where the series could have gotten more interesting. It could have been 2-1. And Dallas could have had an opportunity to tie the series tonight. But instead, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum said, nope, that is not happening. And their two best players took them to essentially I would call it the last step to the mountain top. And they have the opportunity to do it today. And I would like to see them do it today in Game 4 as well. I think those two players, I don't think Porzingis is playing because they're up 3-0. Why would Porzingis need to play in this game? I think those two players need to be great. Again, the toughest game in a NBA Finals or any series, to be quite honest, is the closeout game. And those two players are going to have to be great if they want to end this series today, tonight, and host the Larry O'Brien Trophy in American Airlines Center. Now, here comes the bad part. The Dallas Mavericks, again, they lost once again in a game that was winnable, a game they should have won. Kristaps Porzingis is out. You're at home. Kyrie has to have a better game, which he did. Everything is going your way. All the chips are falling on your side. You are destined to win this basketball game. Yet what happened? You lost. And the numbers say it. I don't need to say it. No team has ever come back from 3-0 in NBA history. Dallas is done. I mean, it's simple. I said it before game number 3 after they lost game 2 because that was a game that they should have easily won. They could have won by 15 points. If we're being quite honest, that could have been a blowout. Yet they lost that game to Boston. And I'm like, you need to get one of the games in Boston because we know how great the Celtics are on the road. We know the Celtics are going to get at least one game in Dallas in the series. So that means the Mavericks have to get at least one game in Boston in the first 2 games to stand a chance. We knew that. And they blew that game. They had opportunities to win this game as well. They couldn't either. And let's talk about it. Kyrie Irving, let's start with him. The positives. Kyrie Irving was incredible, as expected. Did we really think that Kyrie Irving was going to be that bad for 3 games in a row? I didn't. I was begging people, take the over on Kyrie, because there was just no way in hell that Kyrie Irving was going to have a bad game in a must-win game when you know what's at stake. You know what's going to happen if you're down 3-0. You are going to lose. Kyrie Irving knew the challenge, and he stepped up in a big way for Dallas. 35 points. You could argue that's one of his best games of the postseason, if not the best game of his postseason. Kyrie Irving stepped up and did the job that was needed to be done. He took a lot of shots, which I don't care. That's what he's supposed to do, 13 of 28. He hit his three-point shots today, 4 of 6, and he also impacted defensively as well. Couple rebounds in there as well. Kyrie Irving was great today. There is no complaints about Kyrie Irving because the man did his job. Yes, he probably should have did his job in Game 2. Would they have won if Kyrie Irving was even somewhat as good as he played in this Game 3 in Game 2? Absolutely, they would have won. But Kyrie Irving gave you all he had, and that's all you can ask for, especially coming from a player who did not have a great game twice in a row. Now, Dallas early without Porzingis, they were taking advantage of him being out. They were going to the rim. They were executing beautifully. Every single thing in Games 1 and Game 2 at the rim was affected by Porzingis, whether that was offensively for Dallas, trying to score. Porzingis was there. Defensively, you had your guys, because Porzingis was there, had to stretch out. Your big guys, and Lively and Gafford, had to stretch out and go to Porzingis, opened up the rim for the Celtics. Everything that Dallas was trying to do was affected by that man, Kristaps Porzingis. He was out. Now you have the opportunity to keep your big man in the paint. Attack the basket more easily. This should be a win for Dallas. And they tried to do that, and they were great in the first quarter. They were up 13 at one point. Yes, they let it down a little bit because Jason Tatum got on a scoring spree, but it still looked like Dallas was going to win the game, 31-30 in the first quarter. And they were up by, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 20-7. Dallas was playing great. They scored 18 out of their first 21 points in the paint. They knew the assignment. They knew the job. They knew every little thing they had to take advantage of. And then they stopped. For some reason, I don't know why, they stopped. They did not do anything in the paint as much as they did in the first quarter. And it made no sense to me. Like, it was working. Keep going to the paint. Stop jacking up threes. Stop taking these contested jump shots. Trying to go into the defense and take these contested jump shots, mid-range jump shots. Why are you doing that? Go to what is right. Attack the paint. Be the team that you were in the first quarter. Why did Jason Kidd and the Mavericks go away from that? That made no sense at all. Maybe it was because he tried players on the bench. He tried 11 guys on the bench. Not 11 guys on the bench. He just played 11 players in the game because he was so desperate. But at the end of the day, I don't know why those guys didn't get the memo. Attack the paint. Porzingis is out. Take advantage of every little opportunity you have. You're down 2-0 in the finals. You have to win the game. I don't understand why this is so hard and confusing to understand. And they kept on shooting jump shots. And in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken, over 50% from the field, easily. I think even they were in the 60s. Went down to 44. A disaster. A disaster. And I said it in my spiel, but Jason Kidd played 11 guys in this game. He was really trying to find anyone. And when I mean anyone that could help Luka Dončić or Kyrie Irving. And once again, he got nothing. P.J. Washington had a P.J. Washington game, 13 points. Probably need more from a third best player. But okay, I'll give you a pass. Derek Jones, 2 points. Daniel Gafford, 6 points. Maxi Kleber, 0 points. Tim Hardaway Jr., 0 points. Derek Lively, he was probably the only one who had a great game off the bench, 11 points. Josh Green, 3 points. Dante Exum, 2 points. Jaden Hardy, 0 points. The Mavericks got nothing from the bench. Kyrie and Luka scored 2/3 of their points. The Mavs bench only scored 37 points. I mean, the rest of the Mavs roster, not even their bench, the rest of the roster only scored 37 points. And 24 of those were from Derek Lively and P.J. Washington. The Mavericks have had no help at all. And when you look at a guy like Maxi Kleber, who we thought would have been huge in this series, considering he could stretch out Porzingis, open up the rim a little bit, especially if he played some center for the Dallas Mavericks. We thought he could have did that. But, like, why would Dallas go out to him when he's not hitting anything? So Dallas stays in the paint. I mean, the Celtics stay in the paint. Because Max Kleber has been a no-show. I don't know how many points he scored in this series, but I don't even think he scored a single point. Maybe like 2 or 3. Max Kleber has been a no-show. Tim Hardaway Jr., a no-show. Tim Hardaway Jr. is someone that we have seen score the ball at high levels before. Maybe Jason Kidd gave him an opportunity today. I think he gave him an opportunity in game 2, not really in game 1, but these 2 games he had an opportunity to go out there and do what he does, score the ball. And he did not. He continued to struggle. The problem with this Dallas team is that, yes, maybe Luka and Kyrie or bust works against the Thunder, works against the Clippers, works against the Timberwolves. But when you're playing the Boston Celtics, that is a different animal. That is a different team. That is one of the best defensive teams in the league. That ain't going to work. That's not going to work. You are going to need other players to score the ball. You're going to need help for Luka and Kyrie. And Dallas may make some changes. We'll get to their lights out segment on Monday if they were to fall today. But Dallas is going to need some changes because these role players are just not helping them out. They're giving them nothing. Nothing. And when you look at the Celtics helping out Tatum and Jaylen Brown, you've got Derek White, 16, Drew Holiday, 9, Al Horford, 8, Sam Hauser, not like those guys are helping out. These Dallas bench guys are giving you 0 and 2 pieces. You cannot have that when you're in an NBA Finals trying to win. This has just been a disaster for the Mavs bench, and they will have to make major changes, especially if this continues. And the only way Dallas is going to win Game 4 is if they get something from their bench. They have to get someone else. Tim Hardaway Jr., Dante Exum, Jaden Hardy, Max Kleber. Someone has to have a good performance. They did it in the regular season. Why not in the postseason? That has just been a killer for Dallas, and it will continue to be. Now, for the last part of our segment. Dallas made the comeback, right? Of course, they were down by 21, went on this 12-0 run, cut it to as close as 1. And that was because some of the role guys were finally hitting shots. Josh Green hit a huge 3. PJ Washington started scoring a little bit. Derek Lively using his alley-oop threat to an advantage, especially when Porzingis was out. Dallas was finally figuring it out a little bit. That was great. They still lost the game. And part of the reason why, Luka Dončić. He fouled out with, if I'm not mistaken, 4:12 to go. But Luka has been just so frustrating to watch as a basketball fanatic, as a basketball fan. So frustrating. All Luka Dončić has done is complain to the officials. Boston has played great defense on Dončić in this game. Great defense. I said it earlier. Everybody was playing great defense on Dončić in this game. Dončić still got his buckets because that's what Luka's supposed to do. That's what we know Luka is capable of doing. But there was a stretch where Luka missed 7, 8 field goals in a row, got frustrated. All he was doing was complaining to the ref. Boston gets on a 4-on-5 fast break. Sam Hauser 3-point shot. Luka has to stop the complaining. Play the game. Yes, you may, okay, 1 or 2 of them may have been bad, but the rest were fair. Luka understands the assignment. You have to play and be 100% focused because this Boston Celtics team is a different animal. You have to win this game. You have to win this game. And then Dončić gets frustrated. He does some stupid fouls. Yes, maybe his 5th and 6th weren't that stupid. Actually, his 6th was pretty stupid. I don't know why he got in front of Jaylen Brown. But his 3rd and 4th were just frustration fouls. And he thought those weren't going to cost him eventually, but they did. And he was out of the game. Luka Dončić cost the Mavericks this game. If Luka Dončić was in there, I would have thought Dallas would win. With the way that game was going, if Luka was in that basketball game, I think the Mavericks would have won. I really do. I really, really do. And he was frustrated the whole game, made some stupid fouls, and it cost him, his team, and it cost them any shot at winning this series because it's over. It's over. The Celtics are your champions. Whether it goes back to Boston for Game 5 or it ends tonight. Luka Dončić, he will learn. I fully expect it because he will go back and look at this game in particular, one where they had opportunities, they were coming back, they had some momentum, and Luka just complained to the officials, had frustration fouls, and was not locked in 100%. And that is a problem when you're trying to win a game in the NBA Finals. Luka has to be better. That's all I got to say. I believe he will be, but he just has to be because that was painful to watch the way he cost the Dallas Mavericks that basketball game. Along with the role players, it's not all on him. Part of the reason, though, because if you were in the game late, probably would have won. But, of course, there's a lot of reasons to why Dallas lost. But that was a big part in why the Dallas Mavericks lost. Now let me take a little break from the NBA Finals. Before we get back, I want to talk about J.J. Redick and the Los Angeles Lakers head coaching opening as the Los Angeles Lakers have announced they are going to officially interview J.J. Redick for their head coaching position formally in Los Angeles, a legit interview, not some fake talking on the phone, going to Chicago, having a nice little chit chat. This is the real deal. This is a formal interview that J.J. Redick is going to be getting. The Lakers are serious now. But here's the intriguing thing. The Lakers just offered Dan Hurley 6 years, $70 million. Sixth highest paid coach in the league. Fair contract. But he bails it out. Of course, it goes back to UConn. You got to respect the decision. I thought he should have taken the Lakers job personally, but you got family. You're doing great at UConn. Can't complain. Now, what is JJ going to do when he goes in there? He's second fiddle to Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley was offered the contract. Everyone knows who the Lakers wanted now. So what are you going to do if you're JJ Redick? Is JJ Redick going to go in there and say, I want 6 years, $70 million? He should. He very well should. If you're giving Dan Hurley 6 years, $70 million, and now you're committed to me, I want that same money. Or else you just don't see me as the correct candidate. If I'm JJ Redick, I am going to Rob Pelinka. I'm going to Jeannie Buss. I am asking for that money. And the Lakers eventually are going to get desperate. Because look, how many head coaching candidates are out there? I mean, you can take an assistant, but you've got James Borrego, assistant with the Pelicans, former head coach of the Hornets. You've got JJ Redick, of course. You've got even JB Bickerstaff is potentially on the market now. You have Chris Quinn. You have Sam Cassell there's just not a lot of guys out there. And eventually the Lakers are going to have to pick someone. The draft is coming up. They need a coach for the NBA draft. JJ Redick should use this to his leverage. And do I think JJ Redick wants to be a coach? Of course. He's interested. He interviewed for the Hornets, and now he's interested in this one, and he is going to go to LA. And I think he would be a great head coach. Again, he has the podcast with LeBron. LeBron wants him as the head coach. It's pretty clear and obvious. I think we all know that. Those two have a connection. I think JJ would be very good with young guys. He's a good X's and O coach, not necessarily maybe that development, hard-nosed, gritty coach. But at the end of the day, how many options do the Lakers have? You're going to have to take a risk. There's no former head coach out there except for JB Bickerstaff. And I don't know if he's going to coach. I don't know what he's doing in the market there. I know they fired his brother, so I don't think he's any realistic candidate for the Lakers. But who else is out there? JJ Redick's going to have to be your only option maybe, other than Borrego. And I think Borrego may take the Cleveland job. Redick should demand the money, and Redick might get it. Redick very well might get it. And I think Redick would be a good fit with the Lakers. I'm happy they're trying to do something because they got to do something. The draft's in 2 weeks. The draft's the 27th. They got to go. The Lakers have to make a move now. And good thing they are trying. But if I'm JJ Redick, you better give me that money. I wasn't your first choice, but you committed this money to this guy. So why not me? If you're really serious about bringing me in, because JJ Redick's got it great. He's got his podcast. He's the lead analyst on ESPN calling the finals. JJ Redick's got a great life right now. Why would he leave? If you're the Lakers and you're serious, pay up. Pay up, because you just screwed yourselves over with Dan Hurley. Because maybe Dan Hurley would have committed if you gave more money. Maybe. But now you're in this position where I'm second fiddle and you paid this guy this much. I should get the same. The Lakers have really screwed themselves over, and now they're going to have to take a huge risk on JJ Redick. Maybe James Borrego, but is James Borrego really going to be the guy? This is a very bad spot for the Lakers, and we will see what happens because, especially at the finals end, I think this process will go quickly with JJ Redick, and they'll determine if they want him or not. But the Lakers, very tough position right now, and we will see what happens there. Now let me go back to the NBA Finals for our final segment before I make my pick for Game 4. Who should win the NBA Finals MVP, Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown? I'm going to give you a straight-up answer. A straight-up, very honest answer. Jason Tatum has been the best player in the Celtics all season long. Right? I mean, he's the guy on All-NBA first. Jaylen Brown didn't make an All-NBA team. He probably should have. But Jason Tatum's the guy on All-NBA first team. He has been the best player all year long. But in this series, Jason Tatum didn't show up the first 2 games. Jaylen Brown did. Jason Tatum showed up this game, Game 3, but Jaylen Brown did as well. Jaylen Brown has consistently showed up. And when you think of the Finals MVP, we've seen non-best players win it before. Look at Andre Iguodala. He won Finals MVP 2015. Tony Parker won it in 2007. We've seen the second best players on teams win Finals MVPs because they just have that great of a series. We've seen it before. Why can't it happen here? It should. It really should. 2006, Dwayne Wade won Finals MVP. Shaq was the best player on that team in the regular season, but Dwayne Wade had a historically great NBA Finals and a historically great NBA playoffs. It happens. It really does happen. Trust me. This is not abnormal. Jaylen Brown deserves Finals MVP. That simple. He has played better offensively, scoring-wise. He has played better defensively. He has been the best player on the Celtics postseason run. Jaylen Brown, especially if he has another great game, even if Tatum has 40 points, even if Tatum has a triple-double, Jaylen Brown deserves to win the NBA Finals MVP because he has been consistent. When you think of a best player, you think of, 50 points, 5 points. Oh, you got a great 30-point game over here, but now you only scored 10. Jaylen Brown has been consistent. 25, 20, 25, 25, 30. Like, Jaylen Brown has brought it every single game in this NBA Finals. And you have to award the consistency. You do. You can't give it to someone who was a no-show in Game 1 and Game 2. That would be a disgrace for the NBA and a disgrace for the players and Jaylen Brown. Because when you're trying to build a legacy, Finals MVP is important. And Jaylen Brown's legacy will be elevated a lot if they win the Finals and he wins Finals MVP, even if they win the Finals. But a Finals MVP is like that cherry on top. And who deserves the cherry? It's Jaylen Brown. He deserves a little bit extra praise in this series because you could have made the case that Tatum could have cost them Game 2. Tatum could have cost them Game 1 if the Celtics didn't play great either. Tatum was almost a negative for Boston out there. Scoring wise, yes, he played great on the other aspects, but Jaylen Brown has as well. You got to give it to the guy who's been consistent, and that has been Jaylen Brown. Now, before we get on out of here, I'll make you my pick for Game 4. Will the Celtics complete the sweep? Yes, they will. The Boston Celtics are going to complete the sweep. The Boston Celtics are going to win the NBA Finals tonight. We are going to officially end the NBA season tonight. I'm convinced. Boston's just a flat-out better team. There's no disputes, no arguments. Even without Porzingis, the Celtics look like a flat-out better team. The Mavericks have gotten nothing from their bench guys, nothing from their role guys. It's been Kyrie and Luka. Luka's gotten frustrated, and when you're up 3-0, it's really demoralizing. And yes, you could put up a fight, you could win the game, but at the end of the day, I think Boston really wants this title. They really want it. They don't want to linger around here, mess around here, wait 3 more days. They don't want to do that. They want to end it here and now. And whether Porzingis plays or not, which I don't think he will, the Boston Celtics are going to end it and win the NBA title as Jaylen Brown hosts up the NBA Finals MVP. That's what I think. And if this is the last game of the season, it was a great season. It really was. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, but it really was a great season. And if the NBA Finals do end, episodes will go back to once a week. On Fridays, of course, the NBA draft is coming up. I may take a break on Friday because, I've been at it 3 times a week. Been a lot, so I may take a break for a week. But if they do end, we'll be back on Friday, next Friday. If they don't end, we'll be there Monday. And maybe I'll do a little bit of a small episode Monday, recapping the Celtics NBA championship. I may decide to just do an episode Monday anyway, after Boston wins, if they do win. If they don't, of course, we know we'll have an episode Monday because there'll be a Game 5 Monday. But if they don't, you know what? I'll decide to do an episode Monday anyway because, you got to talk about the Celtics winning the title. So I'll do that. I'll do the episode Monday, and I will see you Monday. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, please leave a like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram at take_your_shot_podcast_ and tell me how you would have taken your shots on my takes. That's all my shots for the day, folks. Enjoy Game 4. If the Celtics host up the banner, congrats to the Celtics and their fans. Or will we have a Game 5? We will find out tonight. Have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday.